Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when pepper spray absolutely fails. You turn out to be like this woman. So, in this lecture, we're going to be talking about what happens or what to do when your pepper spray does fail so you don't get self-inflicted friendly fire. So inevitably, as per Murphy's Law, if something can go wrong, it absolutely will. Same goes for pepper spray. If something goes wrong, you absolutely have to be prepared for it. Because as we all know, Murphy is very unforgiving. So when it doesn't work, things you should do. First of all, when you get your pepper spray, you should test it. You should test your spray probably at least once a month. You want to make sure that your pepper spray is going to work when you actually need it. Got to make sure that the canister has enough pressure to disperse the spray, because the last thing that you want to do is embarrass yourself in front of your attacker with your spray fizzing out instead of coming out full blast. Because of that, you need to know how many shots are actually left in your canister. You of course can't exactly tell how many sprays or shots that you have left in the can, but shaking the can can give you some indication of how much spray you have left. And of course, when you come into a situation where your spray does not work, or if you've run out of spray, you should always absolutely carry two for that very reason. It's always good to have a backup, as they say. The other important thing too is to be aware of the expiration date on the canister. That's another reason why you should test the spray. Something to keep in mind is that most pepper sprays last for roughly 3 years. After that time, it's generally recommended by the manufacturer to replace it for another spray, because the pressure in the canister has by that point decreased so much that it won't adequately disperse the spray to the point where you can effectively stop your attacker or shoot it out far enough to where it even gets to your attacker. And when Murphy's Law comes into play, you've got to have a backup plan. We always recommend that people have an extra product or extra weapon, whether that's a stun gun or a taser or a baton or something else besides just the pepper spray that you have on hand, because if for whatever reason the pepper spray doesn't work, then you've got to rely on something else to defend yourself. Now, one issue that a lot of people have is that they forget their pepper spray, whether they leave it at home or they lose it in the bottom of their purse or forget it in their car or somewhere else. When that happens, what are you going to do? What are you going to fall back on or rely on if a situation comes into play where you actually need it for protection? That becomes a critical issue, and that's why you always have to remember the old saying, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And in this case, that's very true. But you do have to remember that pepper spray is simply one tool in your toolbox. You can't be overly reliant on it in order for it to get you out of a situation. Remember that nothing in this world is fail-proof. Again, Murphy's Law. The main thing is that you have to have quick wits about you. You've got to be aware of your surroundings and your situation at all times. And if you do engage a suspect, then you need to determine what the best course of action is in case your pepper spray doesn't work. Whether that's to have a backup weapon, as we've already mentioned, or to have some type of martial arts skill involved. Having a plan B will definitely get you out of danger. And that's why practice drills are absolutely essential. You need to plan and prepare for whatever may come your way in the future. And here we come back to this silly person. So inevitably you're going to come into a situation eventually where you're going to get blowback from your pepper spray, and it's going to hit you, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt hard. First of all, don't panic. The first thing that people do when they get affected with pepper spray is that they start freaking out because it restricts your breathing and you feel like you're suffocating and you can't feel like you can't do anything. But you gotta fight through that as best you can. Try not to inhale any more of the spray than you initially did and keep your eyes closed as best you can. And I know it's really hard when you're engaging a suspect and your eyes are just full of pain, but you have to try and take your focus off of that searing pain and focus on your surroundings instead. You want to try to get away, or at least take control of your spray and spray in the general direction of your attacker. It's really tough for the vast majority of people, but you can fight through pepper spray, but it takes a lot of mental willpower to get through it. After you have gotten away from the suspect, or if you're still engaging the suspect, and after you've gotten away from the actual spray or the mist isn't around it in your general vicinity, you want to try to open your eyes and blink as much as you possibly can. The blinking helps activate the tear ducts and helps to drain out the spray. This helps a great deal during the decontamination process. And lastly, if you can, run away. There's going to be some situations where you obviously can't run away, but for those in which you can, get away as fast as possible. And that's the end of this lecture. In summary, be prepared for when your pepper spray doesn't work, or if you spray yourself by accident, or if you lose it or forget it somewhere. You absolutely have to have some kind of plan of action in order to deal with that. Constantly practice with your spray just like you would with a firearm or in martial arts, because it will help immensely, especially when you need it.